All right, so today I'm gonna be trying to get something mocked up for mounting it in here. So as you can see, what I've done currently is this is just a random line. This is just kind of get a hood level area. You know, hopefully, if it's touching the tape, then it's probably gonna touch the hood. So you just maybe drop it like an inch, not an inch, maybe like half an inch below the tape, and it'll clear the hood. Hopefully, I don't really know. And then over here though, this is my main measuring point to make sure that it's hopefully square. So I measured 10 inches from this bolt, the center of this bolt, and then put my tape right there. Same thing on the other side, 10 inches. So probably not perfect, but probably decent enough. I mean, I can see right now that they're both in line with the edge of the strut tower deal, the top hat. So, I mean, it's all right, I guess. But you can see right now, just by that tape line, you can see, I mean, you can see it without it, but the engine is the transmission is shoved back and the engine is forward. So I'll need to get this forward, but hopefully today I'm gonna be trying to get the driver's side mount in there, and no guarantee. I still need to hopefully be able to fit the radiator in there. I'm looking at where I have the alternator right now. And it'll be pretty snug if I can get the shroud and radiator and everything in there. So that's what I'm hoping to get done. Something even more interesting is now I had to jack this up to be able to get the coil pack out because it hit the core support, but it almost looks like I could pull this from the top if I really, really wanted to. Maybe one day I'll try, but for now, I mean, that's pretty interesting, pretty promising. The only thing that'd be an issue, I think, would be the differential, whether that clears the firewall back there. So with a load leveler, I may be able to, tilt it out of there and get it out, but I don't know. But it's pretty interesting. So I haven't done too much today. I'm just kind of looking at how the engine's gonna sit in there, hopefully. But I got part of where the mount is going, that section cut out. You can see my square tubing is sitting here. I need to get some more plate steel to put in between here. It's just a little bit too big. This is 4-inch square tubing. I'm not sure of the gauge, but pretty thick, probably close to 1/4 inch. And then the other side currently is kind of getting shoved forward because it's sitting on a slope. Like it's got the frame, not the frame, but part of the body sloping down, so the mount's sliding forward. So it's gonna come back a little bit, but nothing too crazy. But mainly right now, I'm just, I think I'll get this side kind of how I want it. And then I'm going to cut that side in, just kind of notch it down to where I can get it level, and then, weld it in there. But today I'm probably done. Didn't get too much work on it, maybe like 2 hours or something. But you can see how it's sitting in there. Plenty of clearance on the back. The front is where it's gonna be. I'm gonna hopefully, if I can't do it, perfectly, which is ideal with the transmission engine mount, I'm going to have to use that rear mount to tilt it a little bit forward. But hopefully I don't have to do that. Hopefully I can get it exactly how I need it first try with this stuff. But we'll just have to see how that goes. So yeah. All right. My bandana's come up a little bit, but right here is one of the engine mounts I've cut. I got a hole going through this side. I just welded this plate in here because I had about an 1/8 inch too much slack between the mount and the actual mount and the bracket. But now I got the mount in it. I mean, that's just with one hand. I kind of got to wrestle it in there, but as of now, it's like fitting perfectly. I'm probably gonna file just a little bit down on this plate. I'm just using a hand file and just going back and forth, trying to take a little bit of material off it so that, it's not the tightest thing ever like it is right now. Just a little bit of play, because I'm hoping that when I torque it, it'll crunch in the square tubing a little bit. I don't know how much. I'm not expecting a lot since it is pretty thick gauge square tubing. So you'll have to see, but I just want a little bit more so it's a little bit easier to put it in there, but I can only hope. All right, it's a little bit wonky right now, but it's sitting here, chain is pretty relaxed. The engine is straight, going off my tape line. Actually, that bolt, a couple of these intake bolts are offset backwards. I think I didn't measure off the intake, I measured off of these. So we're good that both of these are 7/8 of an inch off the tape line. I don't know, it still looks like I'm torqued a little bit forward on my transmission side. Maybe not though, but currently it's pretty level. The only thing is that this mount is leaned, or mount bracket, I guess, is leaned back a little bit. And the transmission one is leaned forward a bit. That's because I don't have any support under here yet. And this is actually something that I was not looking forward to. When it came down to it, I was either going to have to modify the body of the car quite a bit, or I was gonna have to modify the Hassport kit. And the way I looked at it, it's a $400 car, or I think it was like $600 kit. So probably a dumb way to look at it, but I figured I'd rather modify the car than modify the kit, because I do plan on using an EG style kit, which is what this is. Oh, with the new one, or whenever I do a subframe or front end swap, what do I plan on doing? Currently, I had to wait a long time for that kit to be made. It's expensive. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I'm choosing to kind of do what I'm doing, but currently this is what it is now. One of the annoying things is that these, I don't even think, well, I mean, the thing is torqued a little bit, the mount itself. I'll probably just live with it being like that, but the chop saw didn't chop straight, so nothing is square relative to the car. You can see how pointed inward it is, but this one may be better. Yeah, this one's a lot better. But I think that one's just because the bracket is so, it's like that, the way I have the mount on it. So if I could loosen it up and torque it a little bit, I'm sure I could. And that's probably what I'll end up doing. But I think right now, this may be where it's gonna sit. So I think I'm gonna take off that one and, you know, maybe tack this in place. All right, I went ahead and loosened it and I got it squared up a little bit more. So, you know, that looks good. I'm probably just gonna try to get that level and then tack it in there, and then it'll be time to pull the engine out and start doing a lot of reinforcement on these mounts that are welded into almost nothing. So, woo! All right, I got the mounts in there. You know, it's not the most level thing ever. There's only so much I can do having to pry this and hold it. So, you know, it is what it is, but you know, it's sitting in there on its own. And then after this, I'm gonna, like I said, take the engine back out and start adding a bunch of structure to this, cleaning it off as much as I can, and just really building it out, trying to make this as strong as possible, because that's just not anything to be mounted to. So add a few more plates and it should be good, I'd say. So the problem I'm having now is the engine is like maybe half an inch, maybe, I'd say half an inch, maybe an inch too high to clear the hood completely. I could cut out the webbing. That may be a pretty good option, but I'm going to rebuild this crossmember anyway. I thought I might as well just low, because right now what's limiting it, it seems as though it's sitting on this whenever I try to lower it. So I could take this out, cut it out, fit it, and redo it. But, you know, I thought I might as well just cut this down, drop the lower part of the crossmember. This is maybe like 2 inch. I mean, it's pretty significant, I'd say, now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, I mean, I figure I might as well drop this down while I'm at it. And yeah, I'm gonna reinforce it, restructure it. I'm gonna build off of this. This is like where the rear mount's gonna be, somewhere over here. So I'm gonna have to reinforce all this anyway. So I thought as well, might as well while I'm here, go ahead and do whatever I can to make this as strong as I can, and, you know, rebuild it and lower it and do all the, you know, little side quests as we're going. This thing is full of side quests, unfortunately. So this is one of them that I'm choosing to get knocked out right now. And so I have it kind of welded up right now, and I just did this so that I can know exactly where it's gonna sit, and it's roughly where I want it. So what I'm gonna do now is, now that I have this main support in here, I'm gonna cut out probably around right there, and then I'm gonna start probably trying to box it in and support over here. And I got plenty of room over here to build supports to make this part strong. So, you know, that's good. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm up to now. So I just got the crossmember bolted back in, and where the engine is currently sitting, you got about a 1/2 inch of clearance, which is about what I think I'd want to have if it's sitting where I needed it to sit. So figure out what I want to do. I mean, I could, the only real spot of concern is right here, because if the engine torques forward, this will hit on that. So I could notch this out a little bit and just add maybe another set of things, you know, on either side of it, some more bracing to strengthen it up where I notch it out. Let's see what it looks like on the back. I mean, we got plenty of room. And I mean, it's sitting pretty well. I'm not sure how I'd want to do it, but yeah, I mean, this is probably about ideal clearance for what I need. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. We'll just end up having to see. We'll work with it. All right, I had to do some further modification. As you can see, I've notched this. I'm probably just gonna fish plate, maybe try to box it on the inside. I don't know, it just kind of depends. But this is the biggest nightmare so far. So I put a second brace going. So this one went to the bottom right here, as you can see. That's where it was welded to. This one is going to the inside top of this deal. So I did notch this for the radius rod. And as you can see, it's bolted up now. It's where it should be. In theory, what I'm thinking is whenever this bolts, what it does is pull tension on the control arms forward. So these control arms will be trying to pull it back. And if they're pulling back, I think it should bow this rod out just a little bit, which will give me a little bit more clearance. So that's kind of what I'm banking on right now. It looks good. You know, in the future I have to take it down and notch it again. I mean, I could take a little bit more out, but I don't know. But either way, what I'm gonna do is, once I get this, you know, notched out how I want it, I'll be fish plating like from the top side of this over and down. I may want to do something right here, you know, going from like here to here, and just have something that bolts onto there. Maybe a future project, I don't know, but for now, this is what it is, I guess. I'm actually finding out now. I can't remember if I talked about this or not, but I noticed it before for sure. But so you can see right here how close the differential is to the steering gear. And if I torque the engine back as it is, it hits the steering gear. So it's a good thing I'm lowering this. Lowering it will at least get this very apparent protrusion. I don't know, make it closer, but at least I'll have a little bit more play with where I can rotate the differential, I think. But I don't know. That's hopefully I can get it right there. I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to see how solid these mounts are once I get all three in play. You know, I may just have to, I'm not against shaving this down. I mean, it's got plenty of other bolts holding it together, so it'll probably live. Yeah, that's pretty significant. So if it torqued back at all, it would hit the steering gear for sure. All right, so now I have this mount plate supported, but I'm going to build a fish plate to go along all of these and then get welded along here so that this joint is reinforced and all these joints are reinforced. Same thing with all these. I just filled in this area where the square tubings were joined. Gonna reinforce this over here and then over there. So I somehow cut this plate like perfectly first try. I still need to wall out some of the holes because this bottom one is not lining up. It's just catching on the side of these if I push it over. So you can see it's starting to, you can see the threads, but it's just not quite enough. So need to waller those out a bit, but other than that, it's good to go. I will need to actually put this on though before I put the subframe on, which is kind of annoying that I have to take this down every time. Well, I might not have to, but because this bolt will back out. You can see right there, it backs out into this mount. So, you know, that's a little bit annoying, but I mean, that's what you got to deal with whenever you're putting something that's not supposed to be there, wherever you're putting it. So, you know, just another thing I got to deal with. So, as you can see, I went in and put the shifter. It's just kind of sitting here, it's not bolted down or anything. And I pulled the carpet up because I started to cut a hole because I'm somewhat of an idiot. So we have a hole straight to the bottom that I'll need to close up. As of now, this is working. So I may just try to seal this up as good as I can. Make something that'll, you know, keep as much air coming through there as possible with water and everything. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it works. The only problem is there's a little bit of interference with the handbrake, but I don't think there's much engagement, if any, right there. I mean, there's enough that it's probably gonna roast the brakes, but I'm thinking, yeah, this is just a stock shifter. I can probably just notch this and just put a split down it, and you'll probably have plenty of structure still to do what it needs to do. And what's cool is it's actually, you know, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then reverse. So I mean, we got all of them, nothing's binding. You know, it is moving around pretty much at its own will, so it could be binding once everything's held down, but as of now, everything's good. So all right, so I made a bracket to mount it. Essentially, I used the old bracket, which lost a screw, so it's not held it. This is 3 out of the 4 screws. And this is just a hole, like a bracket for a hole that the old shifter mounted through, and I just welded another bracket to fit this one onto that. So it's screwed in the body, and then I spot welded it quite a few times to it, and now it's on there. So it's not the sturdiest thing I've ever made, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, reverse. So all of it's there, none of it's binding, so you know, that's good. I don't even have that all the way in. And it's not like perfectly straight either. It goes a little bit towards the driver's side, but it'll be fine. Yeah, most of the plane honestly seems like it's in the rubber bushings that hold the shifter, you know, to where it normally is. So I'm not sure. I don't know, you know, that seems like where most of it is, but I'll try to tighten it up a little bit more. get that other bolt in and see if a lot of it goes away or not. So right now I'm trying to make up the axles, or at least measure. I have one of them, starting to be measured, so I'll show you what I'm doing. So I got the axle in here and just kind of snug down. And so I went ahead and cut the old one about halfway, and then went and cut the TL one about halfway, and I have them together. Now I just have it at right height and straight, and you can see it's actually pretty straight. It's surprising. We may end up with some clearance issues right there because I had to move the engine. You can see if you look on that bracket to mount hole, it's not quite lined up, so I had to move the engine just a little bit forward to get this in. But I think it should clear. I think we'll be fine. The other side will be questionable, so I may have to actually index that a little bit. We'll see. But for now, this is how it is. The axle relaxed was a little bit out, so I went ahead and like tightened this down just a little bit, put this one in, shoved it in maybe half an inch or so, and then tighten this back down. So that should put us close to the middle of the axle's travel, because you don't want it to come too far out when you turn, and you don't want it to go too far in and bottom out against the back of the cup. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and see, I went ahead and marked it. Unfortunately, that was before I had them together very well. I was using zip ties and they're just not strong enough, as you can imagine. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go inside and cut turn the wheel all the way, and then we'll see where it comes out at. And if we look good, then I'll just mark it, and that's where our joint will be on the axle. So I went ahead and dropped the suspension down, put it at full droop, and turned the wheels. And I mean, neither one really moved this inner joint hardly at all. So I think we're good. There's not a whole lot of travel in the suspension, and then there's also just not much axle. So luckily, I think that equates to us not having much play required in that inner joint. So that's pretty good. All right, I went ahead and cut it and everything, got it welded up. It's not great. I don't expect it to be, but I just want to drive this thing. So, I can worry about custom axles later, but for now, I'm just worried about getting it driving. As you can see right now, I got these beveled, and I have them in the sleeve. It's about 25 point something millimeters. I had to lathe that one down a little bit. But right now they're together, and then this is the sleeve. So once I get these welded together, I'll slide the sleeve onto there, and I'll weld that on there. And I'm hoping that I'm gonna actually pin it as well. So I'm gonna do it on the other one for sure, but yeah, hopefully I pin this one. All right, and you can see my first tacks holding it together, and the axle still slides, or the sleeve still slides where it should be. So, not very much warpage there, it seems, because I mean, this is pretty snug. There's not any play in it. You can see there's, there might be a couple thousandths or something, but there's nothing too significant between the shaft and the inner part of the sleeve. So yeah, hopefully this works out pretty good. So essentially here's my corner of parts, the old engine and stuff, but I got the driver's side axle made, and like I said, my plan was to put a pin through it, but I got through the big steel sleeve, which is probably mild steel at best, and got into the shaft and just dulled the drill bit pretty quickly. So I'm gonna have to get a diamond drill bit to drill through the shafts, and then I'm gonna put the pin in there, and hopefully we'll get some more structure in there. So I have the axles made up and put in here just to test the fitment, and you can see yeah, this is with it loaded, so this is at right height essentially, but we got quite a bit of play in there. I was worried that I wouldn't have enough. So, hopefully that's enough. It's like maybe like ½ inch of travel or something inwards before it hits. Yeah, so I guess the lesson to be learned here is that you set it at right height, and especially if you're using like an old axle or something, the inner joint is just kind of in its natural middle state. So what I did was I pushed it in just a tiny bit, and it was like, okay, now I'm definitely not too far out. And I think it's a little bit far in, but it should be fine. I'm not too worried about it, but just something to make note of if you're doing it this way. Kind of cool, but now that I have the axles made up, this is the first time I have it in here, and I can feel some backlash in the differential. So that's pretty cool. So I thought to do one more thing, and here's the axle. I'm gonna spin the wheel and we're gonna see if we got any significant movement out of it. I'm gonna set you still on something. There is a little bit, which in the grand scheme of an axle is probably a lot of it, but you know, it's as good as it's gonna be for now. So yeah, now I'm gonna go look at the driver's side. Now the driver's side I'm much more confident in. I lathed it down much better, so should be more center. Doesn't seem too bad. I don't know, honestly it doesn't seem that bad, so I mean it'll drive. That's really all I care about for the time being, and these welds aren't great either. That's why I'm putting pins through it. This one is ready for the pin, but I need to get carbide bits because my cobalt ones wouldn't drill through this axle. So, but yeah, I mean there's a little bit of vibration, but hopefully it won't, you know, rattle my teeth out or anything. All right, and this is my, I guess, last attempt at welding up the axles. I ground down some of the old and I went with parallel with the axle passes. So, yeah. All right, I got some paint on the axles, and while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to try to cut out my piece that's going to sit along here, down here. I guess I'll probably let it overhang a bit. I don't really know yet. The bolting will be an issue. I might have to grind something out after all it's said and done, just to get a fastener in here, because I kind of want to have it encapsulated, just to have a nut on there and not have to worry about it. This one over here is a little bit more annoying because it's like runs right into the body. Oh, there's a little bug, a little ant. It runs right into the body right there, so I'm not exactly sure how I'll do it. I might have to notch something, but yeah, it's kind of where we're at with this. And as you can see, I got this is the passenger side, the top plate reinforcement for the fender liner, or wheel well, whatever. And see, it's kind of hard to get out. So, I mean, that's an okay fit, decently thick plate. My plan is to have it in there. This seems like the spot that's contacting the most, and I'll just drill, you know, in this area. Spot weld. What I did on the bottom side, which worked pretty well, I think, is that I spot welded, and then I had a few drill spots, and it's not focusing for some reason. But I swear, phone's focus has gotten worse. So I spotted here, drilled here, hammered it where I was gonna spot weld it at to get it flat. Spot welded, hammered it, and just keep working my way down as I spot weld, so that the metal stays in place, but also bends where I need it to. So hopefully I can get enough. I may end up just bending this one outside of the car because it'd be kind of sharp. I don't want to like rip the metal. I mean, if it rips out from the hammer, and it'll probably rip out from torque. So I don't know, but that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably bend this back real quick and see what I can get out of it. But overall, not too bad. So something really fun is that I wanted to put the fuel tank back in so that I could pull the engine, have somewhere to set the engine once I pull it. And in doing that, I found out that I did this backwards. So this is my bracket that the fuel tank attaches to. And so it's about 2 inches too far to the rear for it to make up to that. And I tried bending it back, but the angle's just too much. So I think I'm gonna have to take this back down and flip the pump and the regulator, and do whatever I have to do to make it work, unfortunately. All right, so I got it flipped around and we're all in there. I'm gonna put some gas in to see if it would leak out of that deal, and so far it hasn't. I suspect though that if it's going to leak, going to be once I put the lid back on and some of the fuel evaporates and it builds up some pressure in the tank, because I don't think I have a vent. So yeah, That's pretty cool.